right, welcome to this December 9th edition of the Courier Paperboyz. Nellie, it looks like it's just you and I today, but we've got plenty of things to talk about as usual. Sully's out working his way back from the East Coast where he's been with the UNI basketball team. Good trip for the Panthers, went 1-1. Kind of had a clunker against Richmond Saturday, but bounced back as the Panthers have been known to do, and beat George Mason last night. So they're off to a good trip. Now they got to go to New Mexico. It's kind of a tough stretch for them, but they're playing pretty good basketball. But let's start up at UNI. Some news last week. Athletic Director Troy Dannon is leaving UNI to take a job at Tulane. Looks like he's landed a great job down there. It's a private university with an outstanding academic reputation. Maybe not as much success athletically as they would like, but I think it's a campus, from the way it sounds, and a campus community that is really hungry for some athletic success. So I think Troy will have all the resources that he needs to put Tulane on the map, probably a little more prominently than they have been athletically. So that's all well and good, but it kind of leaves us to wonder where this leaves UNI. Troy's done an amazing job of moving that Panther program forward during some difficult financial times. A lot of challenges that had to be met to keep those programs competitive at the level that they've been, which is an awfully high level for a school UNI size. But he's also, he's been out looking at positions at other universities for the last several months. So you kind of wonder what's at work there and what might be awaiting his successor at UNI.
Yeah, it's you're probably knew a little more. I didn't realize he was job searching. I talked to him a few times at football games and thought he seemed to be pretty happy. He's got a young family, so. Yeah, he's done great things here. You look at the success of the basketball and the football and the wrestling program, and you can go down the line with all the programs and what he's done, and the plans to renovate the dome and what they've done to renovate the dome right now with the lighting and some of this other stuff, and now they have a capital plan to add some more bathrooms, add some more meeting space for the football team. There's so many things you could point to where Troy has had his hand in it.
We'll learn more too as this search goes on and as the next athletic director comes in. You can only wonder if Troy felt like he had done everything that he could do here and wasn't going to be able to continue to move this program forward, or if it truly was a situation where he wanted to get into a university that plays at the football bowl subdivision level, a little higher level than what I guess he's been here with UNI. So we'll see how that goes. One thing that's good, I think there are some great candidates out there. You just look in-house at UNI and you've got Steve Gearhart, you've got Gene Berger, you've got Steve Schofield, who I would think they would be interested in. I know Steve has got the people skills that you look for in that athletic director position, and he's paid his dues as an administrator. Gene's got a great background as an administrator. Schofield's another guy who's got great people skills. And then you look outside the university, and there are some former Panther types out there, like Justin Sell at South Dakota State. Kevin Weissman's up at Minnesota State Mankato. Leon Costello's out there somewhere. I forget off the top of my head exactly where. So those guys may, Justin's got a good job at South Dakota State. I don't know if he'd be interested, but there are some quality people out there who can step right in and make this a pretty seamless transition.
Yeah, I don't think, to come in, there's not a lot they're going to have to do to overhaul or remake the financial situation or anything like that, or like Troy had to come in and make a difficult decision to cut baseball, which I thought was a couple funniest tweets I saw when he took the job, is because Tulane people started researching and they go, well, he cut baseball, so they must be passionate about the baseball team down in Tulane. So
sure. Yeah,
so those are two of the funniest ones I saw, but he had to make a lot of the tough decisions again to get UNI financially aligned. I don't think that's the case anymore.
Well, and another guy who's out there who I know would cut off a finger, I think, if he had to get back into the position is Rick Hartzell. He's still around the community. He's been out of athletic administration for as long as Troy's been up there, I guess, but he was more or less forced out because he refused to cut baseball. He would be dying to get back into it if that's the direction that UNI wanted to go. Somebody with UNI ties who also has quite a bit of experience. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, it's going to be interesting. I'm just assuming they'll have a search committee here sometime soon, and the wheels will start turning from there. As long as we're talking Panthers, I, for one, am really looking forward to Saturday. UNI's in the FCS playoffs. They're in the quarterfinals. They've won, what, 8 in a row now? Is that right? Seven in a row. Yeah. And lately, they're obviously playing their best football. They're not only beating these teams in the playoffs, but they're beating them pretty soundly, at least to this point. Saturday, they get to face one of their most bitter rivals, and a former Panther player and coach in Chris Kleiman. When they go up to Fargo to see four-time defending FCS national champion North Dakota State. Game kind of reminds me of the Iowa-Michigan State matchup Saturday night for the Big Ten championship. Two really evenly matched teams that are built around really good defense. They play solid fundamental offense. They like to run the ball. So that'll be fun. Let's break this down a little bit. What do you see in this game?
Yeah, just like I said, I've already been on one Fargo radio station, and the guy used what my lead I was going to use. He called it's going to be a slobber knocker, which apparently what Craig Bowl used to say. But they're going to get after it, and I just read a story from the Fargo Forum about talking about how after this game the physical toll it's taken on teams. Where UNI is 3-5 after this game. Both of them this year after this game went and lost, proceeded to lose. North Dakota State lost to South Dakota, and UNI came and probably played its worst game of the year against Western Illinois. So it takes a physical toll. Somebody made an interesting tweet, again, I'm following social media and going to social media, is the beneficiary of this game mostly is not the winner. It's Illinois State, or the winner of the Illinois State-Richmond game. And most people thinking Illinois State is the 2 seed. Is going to, they're going to get if they win their at home or take care of business at home, they're going to get a team that's coming and beat up. So that's one way to look at it. So they're going to go after it. Some interesting developments have come in with this game. Monday, Chris Kleiman said Carson Wentz, their preseason All-American quarterback who hasn't played since breaking his wrist, has began practice, and he could play this week. He iterated. He didn't say he was going to start over Easton Stick, the redshirt freshman who's 6-0 since he became a starter. But he said Wentz is practicing, and if he's available to go, he will play.
Interesting. It kind of forces you and I to prepare for two quarterbacks. If Carson Wentz plays, I wouldn't expect him to be heavily involved in the running game. He's more of a really quality drop-back passer, and I don't think you'd want to put him in too many more contact situations than you have to coming off a broken wrist. And the other guy, Easton Stick, he's a dual threat type of guy who has had some really good games running the ball. And he's been, if not prolific, he's been accurate and efficient with the passing game. So
yeah, it's two different variations. I broke this down a little bit. With Wentz as the starter, they were averaging 176 yards rushing and 207 yards passing, more balanced. With Stick at the quarterback, they've been averaging 111 yards passing, or a little more than 111, and almost 300 yards rushing. Yeah. So it's switched. And Stick is a much better runner. He's rushed for almost 500 yards. In the 6 starts, and so that's a different thing, a little different dynamic. You're right there. You're going to see more Wentz, who does run, but he's more of a drop back passer.
And didn't Wentz practice a little last week as well?
Yeah, he I guess he warmed up before the Montana. He threw about 10-yard passes, apparently, what I read, to some receivers before the game.
I have to think he's going to play.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. How can you not go against a fifth-year senior, a guy that I know NFL scouts were in to watch and look and are intrigued by? Because he's 6'6", he's 230 pounds.
Right. He
can scramble a little bit, a good arm.
He's Joe Flacco all over again, when you and I played Delaware in the playoffs, and Flacco pretty much picked him apart in the Uni Dome. So that'll be a good matchup. One thing, I think you talked a little bit about the physical toll that first UNI North Dakota State game took on both teams, but I also think for UNI there was a mental toll that came into play too, because they had just come off that run of Cal Poly and Eastern Washington and Iowa State and Illinois State and whatever it was, that 5-game stretch of really, really tough games, most of them on the road. And I think there was just a natural tendency to just take a big breath after that North Dakota State game and say, phew, we're finally through that. And it turned out to be pretty costly against Western Illinois. This game, I think there are 2 keys to this game. Number one, UNI's offensive line has to be better than North Dakota State's defensive line. They have to be able to sustain drives. They got a lot of one-play touchdowns against Portland State Saturday night, 67-yard run and 69-yard run. There was another big run in there somewhere. I'm not so sure you're going to find those type of opportunities against North Dakota State this Saturday. So it'll be really important for UNI to be able to move the ball, chew up some clock, and give their defense a little bit of rest.
Yeah, that was a big factor in the first meeting, and in the second half of that game, there's 5 lead changes in the fourth quarter. The second half of that game, North Dakota State had the ball longer in the second half than UNI had the ball the entire game. So, and one of the things happening is a big play. Aaron Bailey scored on an 83-yard run right after North Dakota State had a grinding drive. And then Bailey comes out, first play, boom, he goes 83 yards, and the defense is on the bench for maybe, well, with TV timeouts and stuff, the defense is on the bench maybe 5 minutes, and they had to go right back out there. I think that played a factor in that final drive when Wentz took him, I think it was 73 yards in a minute and 50, and they scored with 35 seconds left. And that was a factor. You're right. You hit it on the spot there. They got to control the offensive line. Is really, I think UNI's offensive line, even if Robert Rafferty, starting center, doesn't play this week after hurting his ankle against Portland State and after losing Cal Twait, the left tackle, I think this offensive line is still playing its best. It's gotten better and better and better. And the results are the run game. The run game's been just dominating.
Yeah, I like what their receivers are doing downfield in the run game too. I mean, they're making some good contributions on the edge with some of their blocks. So that'll be good. The other key that I see in this game is special teams, and not necessarily just from the game-changing big play type of standpoint, like a punt return or a block kick, but the ability to flip the field position. I mean, I think if you can pin North Dakota State down and make them a little bit more one-dimensional, or any team for that matter, put their backs up against the goal line, it really creates a big advantage for your offense.
Exactly, that's what they got to do, and UNI's got to do that. And you look at the flip side too, is North Dakota State's got the best punter in the league, in Ben LeCompte. So they got it's gonna be a battlefield. There's gonna be some field position battle there. Sam Cooter's gonna have a good game, because there's gonna be some times where they're gonna have to play field position, and he's gonna have to cough and corner some or boom some big punts, and the coverage team is gonna get down there and pin them deep. And they did that a few times in the second half against Portland State when they needed to.
It also looked like Portland State just barely missed a couple of blocks in that game. Maybe UNI needs to shore up with their protection a little bit there and make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
That could be a game changer in a big hurry. So what's your prediction?
Oh man, this tough one. North Dakota State, it's hard to go against these guys. Some 4-time champs. They're 14-0 in the FCS playoffs at home since they joined the FCS level. So it's really hard to go. But I am going to go with the upset here. I think UNI. I like how they're playing. I'm going to go 17-14 UNI.
I'm with you. I mean, I don't even consider this an upset. I think UNI is playing their best football. They're a much better team than they were the first time around against North Dakota State. And obviously North Dakota State has grown and is a better team too. But I hope that Carson Wentz plays. I hope he's a little rusty. It takes him a couple quarters to find his legs, so to speak, and makes a couple early mistakes. UNI's defense has been so opportunistic and tough this last month or 6 weeks. I think the Panthers are just doing a lot of things right. It's their time. They've had a couple close calls up in the Fargo Dome, games that they feel like they should have won, and I think they're going to win this one. I'm going with UNI 23-17.
Yeah, I think we're in line there. I think it's gonna be that type of game.
All right, let's touch just briefly on the Big Ten championship game Saturday night. That was just a great football game, which I don't think surprised anybody. We knew those were two pretty evenly matched teams, kind of built along the same lines, do a lot of the same things well, and came down to one mammoth drive at the end. I mean, 22 plays. I think I heard somewhere one of the talk radio shows that it was the longest drive by any college football team in the country this season. I mean, that's crazy.
Well, it was 22 plays in 9 minutes. Of course, I was watching a game in Portland, and so, but it was on the TV in the background, but every time I looked around, I was going, they still got the ball, but it was still the same score, so it was like,
Yeah.
when I'd have a break, I couldn't believe it when I found out it was 22 plays. I knew it had been a long drive, and I haven't seen it, I haven't had time to go back and watch it on the DVR, but, man, that's crazy. And, my big fear was Iowa was going to go out there and Michigan State was going to put it to them. Boy, you look at the one play, a few plays in Iowa's playing in the Final Four. The big one is the interception in the end zone where Michigan State gets a little they make a nice play, but the ball lands on one of their players. That ball just lands on the ground. I'm mixed up with you with who I'm covered, but Iowa either has another play, I think, or they kick a field goal, and they're up 2 scores.
Right.
Going into the second half.
And a couple of those drives early, I mean, they made some great plays, got the offensive ball in good position and had to settle for field goals. If they punch one of those in, it's a different game. There's a 4th and 2 on Michigan State's game-winning drive when they ran a little quarterback off-tackle type play. I think it was Parker Hesse who was right in the hole to make the play. Essentially got pulled down by the Michigan State guy. I'm glad the officials let the players decide the game, but you throw a flag there, it's a different game. So this truly was a game of inches, and it was just a fun game to watch. And the good news for the Hawkeyes is that they don't just walk away empty-handed. I mean, they get to play in the Rose Bowl, first time since 1991, and they get to play a great team in Stanford.
And Iowa fans are excited. They would have been excited to have been in the Final Four, but apparently they already have twice as many requests for tickets as they've been allotted. There's people predicting that there's going to be 60 or 70,000 Iowa fans out there to watch this game. The stadium holds 99. There might be that many out there. I don't know if that many are going to get in the stadium, but if it's anything like they did in Indianapolis, and I know the airlines are banking on it because all the airline tickets are like $1,000. So, so they're adding more flights though. So hopefully they'll come down a little bit. But yeah, I'm gonna go out there and watch this game. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, you'll be one of a gazillion Hawkeye fans out there, and I got to cover a Rose Bowl. I think it was the one in '90. Maybe it was one in '82. But gosh, it's getting.
Was it with Matt Rogers or Chuck Long?
Well, I covered Chuck Long in the Peach Bowl, so I can't remember if I went back to the Rose Bowl the following year with that team or if it was '91. At any rate, it was a great time. It was a lot of pomp and circumstance. I mean, all the festivities surrounding the Rose Bowl were really fun to be a part of. The Rose Bowl parade, I remember going down and watching that, and actually went to Caltech and did a little research on the tradition that they have of pulling these pranks at the Rose Bowl, and that was kind of a fun story to do. So it was a good time, and you'll have a good time out there.
It's a bucket list. I have requested a press pass, so I'm going to walk around and check out all this. Get on the field during the game.
And you're going to get to see one of the best players in the country, Christian McCaffrey for Stanford. I mean, he does it all. He catches passes, he runs for thousands of yards, returns kicks. I think he's thrown a couple passes, and there isn't much that this guy doesn't do.
3,000 and some total yards?
Yeah, it's incredible.
I mean, just
against a pretty good competition.
Yeah.
They don't. The Pac-10 there aren't any gimmies in that league, so he's earned everything that he's gotten. Fun stuff. Let's just talk a little bit about college basketball. We touched on UNI, but got a good game, big game Thursday night. Iowa heads down to Iowa State to play the Cyclones. The Hawkeyes are playing really well. I mean, they're just throttling teams here in the last couple of weeks, and then throttling some pretty good teams. This isn't just your basic cupcake schedule like we've seen some seasons from Iowa. I mean, they're playing some good competition. So what they've done has been impressive. Iowa State, I think, is number 4 in the country or somewhere right in that range, and they're playing really well. So who do you like in this one?
Well, I think you got to like Iowa State a little bit in this one, just because of who they got, the experience they've got. Big George plays big against the Hawkeyes, and it's in Hilton, I believe. Yeah.
It is in Hilton. You got a little Hilton magic at work.
Magic,
Jameel McKay will make things interesting. I mean, Iowa can probably neutralize Yang a little bit with Utah because he's so long. But who do they have that can match up with McKay? Woodbury can't.
No, yeah, that's going to be an interesting. What do you put a guy like Jared Udoff down there on him, or something?
Well, then Yang will tear you up.
Yeah, so yeah, you got to pick your poison. it's going to be interesting. But yeah, I think you got to like the Clones just being at home and the way they're playing too. I think they had their first clunker. Who they beat here the other night. It was a close game, and they'd have a big second half. They'd take care of it. But at halftime it was pretty close, and it was their first game where they kind of weren't crisp.
I think Iowa State's got a little bit of an edge in the guard court. And I think Iowa may have a little bit of edge with their bench. I mean, I just don't know how deep Iowa State can go right now. Iowa State has proven that they can play 7 or 8, even 9 guys and be pretty effective. Although they did lose Dale Jones to a season-ending knee injury, which is unfortunate. He was off to a good start and was playing some regular minutes and making a contribution.
Yeah, Coach, I think they're going to try to get him a 6th year of eligibility, which they think he's a candidate because he had an ACL injury when he was in junior college, so they think they might be able to get him a 6th year, so he'd get 2 years more, another couple years left with the Hawks.
Very good. Anything else you want to talk about today?
That's good.
All right, we covered it. That's going to do it. As always, you can catch up on all the sports action at www.wcfcourier.com or in our print editions. We'll be back next week.